vision. As Johannesburg boomed, it also became a symbol of a segregated society. In the early days, miners from around the world flocked to the city, creating a melting pot of cultures. However, racial inequalities were baked into the city's foundation, with Black South Africans forced into poorly paid labor and confined to the outskirts of the city. By the mid-20th century, apartheid intensified these divisions. The Group Areas Act of 1950 formalized racial segregation, forcibly removing black communities from central Johannesburg to townships like Soweto and Alexandra. These laws entrenched exclusion, poverty, limited access to education, and prevented economic mobility for millions. The social consequences were devastating. Townships, once vibrant communities, were underfunded and overcrowded. Tensions arose, leading to historic resistance from the 1976 Soweto uprising to anti-apartheid protests across the city. In 1994, apartheid officially ended and South Africa entered a new era of democracy. But the legacy of segregation and inequality still casts a long shadow over Johannesburg. Today, Johannesburg's government works under the principles of developmental local government, striving to address these historical inequalities. Key to this approach is social inclusion, rebuilding the city's infrastructure, creating economic opportunities, and delivering basic services to all residents. Programs like integrated housing developments, integrated public transport systems, management of natural resources and the environment, and expanding access to economic opportunities are helping bridge the gap between Johannesburg's wealthiest and its most vulnerable citizens. Developmental local government isn't just about delivering services. It's about developing society and individuals within it whilst improving living conditions for our people. Collaboration between local government, citizens, community organizations, and the private sector is key to tackling the city's pressing challenges, from poverty to climate resilience. Johannesburg's journey is far from over. From its turbulent beginnings through apartheid scars to a future built on equality and opportunity, the city continues to rise to create an environment that is resilient, sustainable, and livable. It's a story of resilience, hope, and the power of community.
A round of applause, please, for that beautifully put together video. I'm always very proud to serve Johannesburg. Although I travel around the world, Johannesburg is really the only place I've ever called home where my family has been set. I've never moved anywhere else permanently. What I'm going to do right now is just go through the housekeeping rules, and then I will then welcome our audience online, and I'll introduce myself, and we'll get into the run of the day. But safety and security always first. So for your safety and comfort, please take note of the following important information. I'm going to read it like I'm on a plane. I've always wanted to be a hostess. Emergency exits. The emergency exits are to my left and to my right, and they're also behind you. All exits are clearly marked for ease of identification. In case we have to evacuate and in case of an emergency, I will be the one to let you know, or one of the team members will let you know. Please proceed calmly to the nearest emergency exit. Follow the guidance of the trained safety officers, identifiable by the City of Johannesburg bright yellow vests. I'm sure you've seen some of them outside. Our assembly point is located in the outdoor parking area adjacent to the main entrance of the forum, the campus, across Colrose Street. Now, a few bits and bobs about the facility. The bathrooms are located towards the reception across the foyer. There is one bathroom for the males and another for the females. We do have a medical room located across the courtyard, which is the area just behind the tent called the Orangery. So if you're looking for the medical room, please look for the Orangery. Now, we have here on board what's called VOC. I always say acronyms need to be explained because we don't all understand the same acronyms. That's the Venue Operations Center. That's situated in the graphite room next to reception. And then for late arrivals, bathroom breaks, or additional exits, please use the door located to the far right, so not here in the front. Protocol officers can be identified by their black attire, so they're wearing black attire and turquoise lanyards. And identification, we kindly encourage all guests to please wear their lanyards at all times. Please do that so that you're not asked to then put it on for ease of identification and assistance. And that takes care then of the safety and security notes. We always want to adhere because we are being hosted here by the forum. Of course, it's not the event, but they want to make sure that our stay here is as smooth as possible. We want to make sure that you are safe. So with that, I'd love to introduce myself, but before I go into that, I want to say a warm welcome to everybody who is joining us online. Thank you so much for being patient with us. We were just getting things set up, and we'll go as swiftly as possible. I'll always make sure that we catch up with time. I'm known for that, but I'll explain how we will catch up with time. There are a few housekeeping rules I'm going to give you. So if you are joining us online, unfortunately, some of the things I cannot tell to you, like, where is your bathroom? I do not know where your bathroom is. But what I will ask you to do is please listen to the ones that are applicable to you. My name is Tami Nkadimeng. I'm fondly known as the Message Architect. I'm Message Architect because I'm a communication scientist. I have spent 20 years in corporate, left it to then pursue my what I find is my purpose and my passion, and that is advancing and bringing forward humanities and societies using the art of communication across the world and throughout the globe. There's music. I think somebody wants me to dance. I always think everything in life has to do with communication, whether it be business, relationship. Without communication, we really do not have a fundamental of what's going on. And even here today, we're going to utilize communication to do so. One art that I use is breaking down and building words. So here we are speaking about urban forests. What is urban? Urban is a characteristic of our city. I love the fact that when we think about cities, we can think about them as canvases, and the people who actually live in them are artists. But as we live in cities, we need to remember that Mother Nature has already started the artistry. We are just augmenting it, and we should not change the artistry of Mother Nature if we want to adhere to sustainability. But it's not just that. The truth is, for obvious excellence, stick to simplicity. Mother Nature's already given us simplicity. And if you listen very carefully to what I just spelt with the first letters, for, F, obvious, O, recurring, R, excellence, E, stick, S, 2, T, simplicity, forests. And so with that, I officially welcome you to the second African Forum on Urban Forests, Shaping the Future Resilience of African Cities through Urban Forests. A round of applause, please. I think it would really be amiss if I didn't adhere to protocol, so I'm going to do that. We have some deputy ministers in the House, executive mayors, government officials, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you a brilliant few days ahead, and I really hope that you will use the art of communication in order to advance us as various cities across Africa. Now, a few housekeeping rules. We'd love for you to please keep your phones on silent, not off. I'm not like other events. keep them on, but on silent. Reason is, I'd love for you to please capture whatever captures you, videography, photography, share it on social media. Sometimes we do not realize how privileged we are to be in the room. But the truth is, everybody who breathes makes up humanity. So we want to keep the conversation that you find interesting going throughout Africa. So feel free to be posting. All we ask you is to please use our hashtag. That's AFUF 2025, so we can keep tracking the conversations that then pick up for us. And it will help us engage further as well when we create the reports. Tonight, we will be having a dinner. It will be back in this venue, not in this venue, but within the forum that will be starting at 7:30 until 10. But as we go along, I will help steer that. And then there is a cocktail dinner that will be happening tomorrow from 6 until 8 o'clock. At the back of your books that you have been handed, there is a privacy note. We love to just bring your attention to the privacy notes. All it says is that we will only use your personal data for the purpose of the delivery of the event. We will never just willy-nilly post you, so we do take your personal data quite seriously, and we are adhering to POPI. Breakaway sessions will be happening throughout the day, but as we go to the breakaway sessions, I'll give you that in detail. Otherwise, it's just very cumbersome information for all of you. So I'd rather break it up and then do that for you. For those who need to utilize the prayer room, we have made allocation for the prayer room. Please just ask for the room sepia, and you can utilize that. It's specifically designated as a prayer room for those who require that personal space. Now, in order to post, we are offering you free Wi-Fi. Do not worry. All you have to go to is the forum guest, and the password is capital F0, small RUM, capital G, small U, number 3 ST, exclamation mark at hash. A whole lot of gibberish. If you don't know, just go to reception and they'll assist you, or you can grab me. I'll be always seated there while I'm here, and I'll help you really quickly just to log onto it. We do know that we have a number of French speakers that are here with us today. In this, what we'll call this is the plenary room. So this is our main stage, our plenary room. And in the plenary room, we will be then translating from English to French. So if you are a French speaker and you need translation and you did not get a headset, please raise your hand wherever you are right now, and we will bring a translation set to you, or just wave at somebody on the side. There's one and there's one. There's two, there's a few. So she'll come around to you. Just keep your hand as you see the lady over here coming around, and she'll give you that. So in here, we are translating from English to French. In the breakaway rooms, we will then translate from French to English. I think that takes care of all our housekeeping notes. Of course, with every event that is put together, we always are thankful for the sponsors. I'm not going to always have the opportunity to mention them because it's quite a number. It took quite the village to put this together, but I'm going to honor them and really name them one by one. Please, let's only clap at the end, not in between. It is a long list, but I want to honor them. The organizers are the City of Joburg, Food and Agriculture Organization, and the United Nations Human Settlements Program, known as UN Habitat, Center on African Public Spaces. The government partners, we have South African Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, South African Department of Cooperative Governance, South African Department of Human Settlements, Gauteng Provincial Department of Environment, South African National Parks, South African National Biodiversity Institute, South African Tourism, oh, I see Shine over there, South African Local Governments Association, and South African Cities Network. Now the friends of the forum, and you'll see them keeping on coming, World Resource Institute, International Union of Conservation of Nature, ICLEI Africa, AFR 100, African Development Bank, Urban and Municipal Development Fund. They wanted to really just honor, the journey that Salga has also gone through, but I'll do that a little bit later with the city. The GIZ Cities Adapt, WWF's Tanzania. I always say that people mustn't say Tanzania. It's Tanzania. so I'm trying to pronounce it as best as possible. Urban Better, Wangari Maathai Foundation, Kaunki Design Institute, University of Johannesburg, Wits Business School Center on African Philanthropy and Social Investment, University of South Africa, and University of Namibia. Our sponsors are made up of APSA, Insight Outdoor, MCG Industries, Prime Media, and Alive Advertising. A round of applause, please, for all our partners. I often say there's two really tough parts of my job. And I was allocated 30 minutes for this, but I've caught us up quickly. The two toughest parts of my job is never public speaking. I love that. Put me anywhere and I can speak. The tough things are pronouncing names correctly. So I'm already asking for forgiveness in advance. We're family, right? I'm forgiven. I'm going to try my best. And the second one is keeping time, because we do have people that are going in and out. So if I do wave at a speaker and I say time out, it's not out of disrespect. It's so we can get everybody to their relevant meetings, because they've really tried to honor us by being here. I am your program director, your chair, your MC, your facilitator today. However, I'm not the one who can welcome you here, so I'm going to ask the Executive Mayor, City of Johannesburg, Metropolitan Municipality, Councillor. I asked him, I said, Abu Dada, did I say just Dada Morero or the full thing? So I'm just going to give his full name, Councillor Sillo Enoch Dada Morero. A round of applause, please, for him.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Program Director, Ms. Tami Nkadimeng, I'd like to acknowledge you. The CEO of Nkadimeng Group, honorable guests, we had expected the former mayor of the city of Johannesburg, the first executive mayor, to have joined us. I think he's still on his way. Former Mayor Amos Masondo. Let me also acknowledge the guests, though she's still on her way, the Minister, Deputy Minister of Forestry and Fisheries and Environment, Ms. Bernice Swart. Acknowledge the MEC, or the member of the Executive Council of Gauteng, Member Mary Peters. I do acknowledge you, MEC. We're also expecting the chairperson of the South African Local Government Association, Councillor Dlabati, but would like to acknowledge the presence of Councillor Genalemang Pukunzi from Salka, who's here, responsible for the National Working Group on Environmental Planning. Deputy Director, Ms. Tina Fahanan, Dr. Babangana, and Simon Borilli from the Food and Agriculture Organization, the head of the Kenya Country Program for United Nations Habitat, Ms. Nosipo Kanyile, we acknowledge you, University of Namibia and Imperial College of London, Dr. Jessica Thorne, the Executive Mayor of Tshwane, who was supposed to have joined us, Councillor Nosipo Moya, and acknowledge the executive mayors who are here. Executive Mayor from Gambia, from Zambia, the youngest mayor possibly in the whole African continent, Mayor George Mwanza, the mayor of Matola, the mayor of eThekwini, the mayor of Dakar, Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask the mayors just to stand up so that we can see our African mayors who are here with us. Indeed, mayors have a very difficult job, far difficult than that of the presidents. I woke up this morning to try and resolve the traffic lights just on Winnie Mandela this morning. So mayors never get the time to rest. So I welcome you, mayors, and I know that you had to leave your cities to attend this important conference, and a lot is happening in your cities as you are here. So we acknowledge your presence. Traditional leaders and academics who are present here today, we also welcome you. And it is important for us to have invited traditional leaders to be part of this engagement, because we thought it is an important thing so that we engage traditional leaders on the use of medicines and thus affecting some of our forests. And how do we collaborate to ensure that whilst we develop traditional medicine, we also do not affect our forests? And that is why traditional leaders are here. And as we move along, traditional healers have also been invited to form part of this conference. Chairperson Ms. Tenjiwe Moya and members of the board of the Johannesburg City Parks and Zoo, I acknowledge you. Distinguished presenters who are also here, delegates and organizers, I acknowledge you. Let me also acknowledge my colleagues in the Mayoral Committee, Councillor Nkonko, who's responsible for the Johannesburg City Parks and Zoo, and acknowledge our member of the Mayoral Committee, responsible for finance, Councillor Margaret Arnolds, and all those other members of the Mayoral Committee will be joining us throughout the day and throughout the conference. Good morning and a warm welcome from the city of Johannesburg. It's an honor to stand before you today at this second Africa Forum and Urban Forest held and hosted in the great city of Johannesburg. I would like to acknowledge our esteemed program director once more, Program Director Taming Kadimeng, and all our distinguished panels and guests. It is a privilege to have such a remarkable group of leaders, policymakers, experts, and shareholders with us, including stakeholders and including our valued representatives from international organizations such as the Food and Agriculture Organization, the UN Habitat, the South African Local Government Association, the South African Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, and the Gauteng Department of Environment, and many generous donors and sponsors, including amongst the Absa Bank that has made a significant contribution. Your expertise and commitment to advancing the cause of our urban greening have not gone unrecognized and are vital to future-proofing of our cities. Your participation from all corners of our beautiful African continent and beyond reflects a shared commitment to creating a more sustainable and livable African cities. This forum is a powerful reminder of the importance of collaboration, the exchange of ideas and forging of solutions that will shape the future of urban forests and green spaces across the African continent. The need for urban forests and green spaces has never been more urgent as we confront the growing challenges of climate change rapid urbanization, and environmental degradation. Urban forests are not just about planting trees. They are about creating sustainable ecosystems that enhance the quality of life for our people and our residents, boost biodiversity, and mitigate the impacts of climate change. Cities across Africa are growing at an unprecedented rate, and urban greening is no longer a luxury. It is a necessity, and it is a must. For Africa, this forum represents an opportunity to lead global discussions on sustainability. And as one of the continents most acutely affected by climate change, our urban forests are indispensable in building resilience and developing strategies for adaptation. Africa cannot remain on the sidelines of global conversations. We must be at the forefront, driving solutions unique to our continent's challenges and opportunities. In hosting this forum, we send an unequivocal message to the world. Africa is ready to lead in creating green, resilient cities that will endure for generations to come. Africa's forests, nature reserves, and parks are vital for mitigating the environmental impacts of urbanization. They are also untapped assets that drive economic growth, create jobs, and reduce poverty. By utilizing these green assets more effectively, we can stimulate sustainable industries, improve livelihoods, and create more inclusive economic growth. This is a critical step towards addressing the historical imbalances in the greening of our cities. It's about moving beyond past challenges to create environmentally sustainable, economically prosperous, and socially equitable cities. Through urban greening, we can chart a new course, a course for Africa that leads to a greener, more sustainable, and more equitable future for all our people. We are here today, delegates, because we share a common goal to take collective action in addressing the environmental and economic challenges facing our cities. Your presence and active participation today demonstrate your recognition of the gravity of this task. I urge you to leave this forum with not only new knowledge and ideas, but also concrete, actionable solutions that can drive meaningful change in your cities across the continent. I call upon each of you to take the inspiration, insights, and connections you gain here today and transform them into the real world impact. Madam Chairperson, I want to highlight the City of Johannesburg's unwavering commitment to climate action. In March 2021, the City of Johannesburg approved the Climate Action Plan, which underscores our dedication to the objectives of the Paris Agreement. The Johannesburg's Climate Action Plan's primary objectives include achieving carbon neutrality and building climate resilience by 2050. Our plan lays out clear milestones from short-term targets in 2030 to medium and long-term objectives in 2040 and 2050. This effort aligns with the national strategy outlined in South Africa's new Climate Change Act, the Act of 2024, which mandates municipalities like ours to develop and implement climate change response plans every 5 years. These efforts, such as our President's call to action to plant 10 million trees over the next 5 years, ensures that our responses are both coordinated and impactful. As part of this commitment, urban forests and greening spaces are an integral part of our climate action plan. They help combat heat waves, flooding, and other climate-related challenges. We do have imbalances in our city, in areas such as Soweto, Alexandra, and Ivory Park, and Diepsloot, where the urban heat effect is most pronounced. Urban forests are therefore essential for reducing heat stress and improving the quality of life for our residents. We are committing ourselves as the City of Johannesburg to implement a more aggressive program to plant trees in the townships that I've spoken to. We're already implementing this plan through projects such as the Joskei River Rehabilitation Project, funded by C40 Cities, GIS, and the Scaling Urban Nature-Based Solutions for Climate Adaptation. The project is also supported by Global Affairs of Canada. These initiatives focus on restoring vital ecosystems, removing invasive species, and expanding green infrastructure to enhance resilience to climate change. Furthermore, our partnership with Copenhagen, formalized through the Johannesburg-Copenhagen Memorandum of Understanding in February 2024, is a key part of our climate resilience strategy. Drawing on Copenhagen's success in urban flood prevention and heat wave mitigation, we are transforming the Moroka Dam in Thokoza Park in Soweto into a model for flood resilience and climate adaptation. Johannesburg's comprehensive climate action plan drives all these initiatives, and we are committed to continuing with this work as we move forward. The African continent must become self-reliant and effectively harness our abundant green resources to address environmental and socio-economic challenges. Distinguished speakers, delegates, moderators, let us work together as African cities and leaders to become the thriving force in global push for sustainable urban development. Let us harness the power of our green resources to build self-sustaining cities, address past imbalances, and leave a lasting legacy of resilience, prosperity, and green progress for future generations as part of the second African Forum on Urban Forest being hosted for the next 4 days here in the city of Johannesburg. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
I often like to then take up pointers and, sync everything together, but in the interest of time, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go straight to the next speaker. So please help me welcome on stage the member of the Executive Council for Environment, Gauteng Provincial Government, Ms. Shaila Mary Peters. A round of applause, please.
We can do 5. I'll just skip some of it. Good morning. Program Director, thank you so much. Distinguished guests, delegates, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our Deputy Minister for Department of Forestry, Fisheries, Environment, Ms. Bernice Swartz. In her absence, she's joining us still. The Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Councillor Dada Morero, the Speaker of Machabeng Local Municipality and President of Salga, Councillor Becky Stofile, as well as Councillor Pukunsi. Allow me to also greet the Honourable Mayors from our beloved continent, Africa, members of the Mayoral Committee, traditional leaders, representatives from international organizations and academia, environmental experts, government officials, urban planners, and thought leaders. Your presence here today reflects the collective commitment to sustainable urban development and preservation of our natural environments. It is an honor and a privilege to welcome you all to this gathering, the African Forum on Urban Forest. We are delighted to have you here with us today as we engage in vital discussions about the future of our urban ecosystems. As Africa continues to experience rapid urbanization, the demand for green spaces and the need for effective urban forest management becomes even more urgent. Urban forests not only help us address environmental challenges, but also enhance the quality of life for millions of urban dwellers. This forum comes at a time when the integration of nature into urban planning is no longer a luxury, but a necessity. The forum represents a unique opportunity for collaboration and knowledge sharing. It is a space where we can learn from one another, exchange best practices, and develop actionable solutions to promote the sustainable growth of urban forests and across the African continent. We all share the responsibility of ensuring that our cities remain places where people can thrive and our environment can flourish. Today we come together to discuss only the challenges, but also the innovative solutions that will shape the future of our urban environments. One of our key areas we will explore throughout this week is how urban planning can better incorporate forest and green spaces to address the needs of rapidly growing urban populations. And as we tackle climate resilience and biodiversity, another crucial theme is how urban forests can help our cities adapt to the impact of climate change, including heat islands, flooding, and pollution, while preserving the biodiversity that makes our cities vibrant and healthy. The last and definitely a very important theme is local community engagement as well as education. Focusing on the role of local communities in the stewardship of urban forest, how to empower and engage our communities to tackle ownership of their urban green spaces is essential for longevity as well as sustainable success. As government, we are fully committed to promoting the growth and preservation of urban forest. We understand that this is a collective effort that requires collaboration between various stakeholders, including government agencies, civil society, private sector, and the general public. We are working on several initiatives aimed at improving urban green infrastructure, developing policies that support urban forestry, and increasing investments in nature-based solutions for urban challenges. Let us use this platform this week as a pivotal stepping stone to push the boundaries of what is possible in urban forest development. Let's leave here not just with ideas, but with concrete plans and actions that will transform our cities into green, thriving spaces for future generations. Together, we build a more sustainable and resilient future for our urban communities and the broader African continent. Once again, welcome to the second African Forum on Urban Forest Conference. I look forward to the inspiring discussions and collaborative efforts that will take place this week. Thank you, and I wish you all a fruitful and engaging conference.
Thank you so much. Please, another round of applause for her as she makes her way off stage, please. I was admiring the back of your tablet more than anything because it says, visit Gauteng, Zwagala. And I'm biased because I sit on the board of Gauteng Tourism. So I was like, good branding, good branding. Please allow me to just shuffle around the program a little bit to accommodate some of our speakers that have to leave as we go along. So if you see that I'm not following the order, I'm just trying to make sure that we do hear from everybody, and I'm just going to juggle things around as best as possible. We're now going to hear from the National Working Group on Environmental Planning and Climate Resilience, South African Local Government Association. I think it's fondly known as SALGA. Please help me welcome to stage Councillor Kenalemang Rose Pukunzi. A round of applause, please.
Program Director, thank you for the opportunity. Let me take this opportunity to acknowledge Councillor Dada Morero, the Executive Mayor of the host city of Johannesburg. In the same breath, acknowledge the Deputy Minister Bernice Swart, the Ministry of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, Deputy Minister Zuko Godlimpi, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Competition, Ms. Sheila Peters, the member of the Executive Council for Environment, Gauteng Provincial Government, Executive Mayors from across the continent of Africa present and online, traditional leaders, members of the mayoral committees and councillors present here and online. Mr. Tanikolo Menju, Managing Director of Johannesburg City Parks and Zoo, leaders of the representatives of FAO and UN Habitat, chief officers, heads of government departments, and heads of different institutions present here and online. Senior managers, distinguished officials from all spheres of government, NGOs, and academia. Environmental professionals across African continent gathered here and connecting online, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in your eminency, good morning. I bring you all greetings from the leadership of organized local government in South Africa. We are grateful to welcome you all to our beautiful country. It is both an honor and a privilege to stand before you today as we engage in one of the most pressing challenges of our time. Climate change, as we know, climate change is a global issue that affects us all, but its impacts are especially pronounced in cities across Africa. The harsh realities of extreme weather events, rising temperatures, and unpredictable rainfall patterns are increasingly becoming a part of daily life. These changes not only disrupt ecosystems, but also put immense pressure on urban infrastructure, livelihoods, and public health. Program Director, today we must ask ourselves, how can we as individuals, communities, and nations mitigate these impacts and adapt to an uncertain future? How can we enhance the climate resilience of our cities to ensure that future generations can thrive in a safe, healthy environment? One critical answer lies in the strategic use of our urban forests. Urban forests are more than just patches of green in our cities. They are a vital ecosystem that serves as a nature-based solutions for addressing the twin challenges of climate change, mitigation, and adaptation. In Africa, where rapid urbanization is often accompanied by deforestation and loss of green spaces, urban forests are a unique opportunity to reconnect our cities with nature and enhance their resilience to climate change. One of the most effective ways to mitigate climate change is by reducing the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Urban forests play a critical role in carbon sequestration, absorbing and storing carbon dioxide from the air. Trees and other vegetation in urban forests acts as a natural carbon sinks, helping to offset emissions from industries, transportation, and other sources. Moreover, when well managed, these urban forests can continue to absorb carbon over the long term, creating sustainable solutions that benefit both the environment and urban populations. In Africa, with its fast-growing cities, investing in urban forests is a powerful way to combat the carbon emissions that are contributing to the climate change. Beyond mitigating, urban forests are equally important for adaptation to the impacts of climate change. African cities are experiencing more frequent and intense heat waves, flooding, and water scarcity. Urban forests provide a natural defense against these challenges. They can significantly lower temperatures in cities by providing shade and through the processes of evapotranspiration, where water absorbed by plants is released in the atmosphere, cooling the surrounding environment. This helps combat the urban heat islands effect, where cities become significantly hotter than rural areas due to human activities and lack of green spaces. Many of our cities in South Africa are battling severe, unprecedented, and destructive floods. Urban forests can help manage rainwater by absorbing and slowing down stormwater runoff. Reducing the risk of urban flooding in cities prone to heavy rainfall, Trees and Vegetation Act is a natural sponge soaking up excess water and preventing overwhelming floods. Another important aspect is that by filtering pollutants and particulate the matter from the air. Urban forests improve the quality of air we breathe, which is crucial for public health. This is particularly important in Africa, where urban air pollution is on the rise and the impacts of respiratory health are becoming more severe. Urban forests also provides habitats for wildlife, promoting biodiversity and supporting ecosystems that are vital for a balanced environment. By maintaining these natural habitats, we not only protect species, but also create healthier, more sustainable cities. As we look to the future of African cities, we must recognize that the climate change is not just a threat, it's an opportunity to reimagine urban spaces where nature development can coexist. Urban forests are a critical tool in the vision. They help us build cities that are not only more sustainable, but also more livable for everyone. However, achieving this vision requires a concentrated effort from all sectors of society. Governments, urban planners, architects, business, and communities must collaborate to prioritize the creation, expansion, and maintenance of urban forests. This means making policy decisions that integrate green spaces into the city planning, investing in education and awareness about the benefits of urban forests, and fostering community involvement in the care and preservation of these vital spaces. In closing, Program Director, I urge all of us to recognize the profound role that urban forests can play in mitigating and adapting to climate change in African cities. Let us make a bold visionary commitment to integrate urban forests into our climate strategies. Let us invest in nature-based solutions that not only combat climate change, but also provide a brighter, healthier future for the people of Africa. Together, we can create cities that are resilient, vibrant, and sustainable. Cities where nature thrives alongside human progress, where urban forests not only exception, but the rule, and where the full potential of urban spaces is realized to the benefit of all. I thank you.
Thank you. Nothing is as beautiful as working with eloquent speakers who really just keep to time. It makes everything absolutely beautiful. I love that you touched on everybody must come together, because collaboration is important. And I think often we use words and then they kind of lose their gravitas. And collaboration is one of those where we need to continue to utilize it, not just to say it, but to actually exercise it. I often say on stages, I don't think we lack conversations, actually. I don't. If you Google around the world how many conferences I had on a day, you're going to find millions. I think as society, what we lack is coming up with objectives and then implementing. And I think collaboration is where we need to implement. I'm a big believer in trilogy. I think the best things come in threes: sun, moon, stars, mind, body, soul. And I think for me, when it comes, even DNA is actually 3 strands now that I think of it. And so when it comes to advancing humanity and society, for me, the collaboration needs to happen between public sector, private sector, and academia. That is the DNA of society that we need to keep going. We're now going to move into, she just walked right into her being announced. I'm going to give you a few seconds just to settle down. We're going to be hearing from the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment. She is representing the Republic of South Africa. Please help me warmly welcome to stage our Deputy Minister, Ms. Bernice Swartz.
Thank you, Program Director. Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry and Competition in South Africa, Mr. Zuki Godlimpi in his exception. Deputy Minister of Local Government in Somalia, Mr. Ahmed Omar H. Abedilia. MEC for Economic Environment, Ms. Sheila Peters. Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Councillor Dada Morero. Chair of the National Working Group on Environment Planning and Resilience, Salga Councillor Kinalimang Pukunshi. Secretary General of Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa, His Royal Highness Zolani Makiva. President of the Wangari Maathai Foundation, Ms. Njeri Kababeri. Executive Mayors and Mayors Councillors, Deputy Director Forestry, FOA Ms. Tina Vahanan, Dr. Bangana Amadabu, representative in South Africa of FAO, Chief Executives, Johannesburg City Parks and Zoo and Center on African Public Space, Mr. Tandukolo Mendru, UN Habitat Regional Office for Africa, Ms. Nozipho Kanyile, valued urban forestry stakeholders, distinguished guests and dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, a very welcome to you all to our beautiful country, South Africa. It is indeed an honor for the Republic of South Africa to host this important gathering, which brings together nations from across the world. I extend my sincere appreciation to the City of Johannesburg and Food Agriculture Organization of United Nations for hosting this important event on the African calendar. This event takes place at a critical time when the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, the DFFE, has finalized the Climate Change Act that has been promulgated, and it provides for a platform for the country to contribute towards ensuring the harmful impacts of climate change, which manifests as global warming, are mitigated and reduced. The country has recently attended the COP29, which also provided the opportunity to reaffirm South Africa's commitment to transparency in climate action through the enhanced transparency framework. Today, ours is looking forward to the successful hosting of the G20 meeting, which is a first on African soil. As a country, we have a number of priorities that were committed by the Government of National Unity, such as inclusive growth and job creation, reducing poverty and tackling the high cost of living, and building a capable, ethical, and developmental state. Implementation of the Climate Change Act and the Cleaning and Greening Program is one of the key priorities that South Africa, through the DFFE, will be embarking upon for the next 5 years, which demonstrates the importance that is given to this initiative. It is a known fact that the world in general is starting to feel the effects of global warming, and in particular climate change. This phenomenon is an environmental threat resulting from emissions of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. It is now crucial to face this phenomenon head by adopting mitigation strategies and adapt our action towards it. These changes in climate change may have significant effects on various sectors globally. Tree planting and urban forestry, which form the basis for the National Greening Program in South Africa, is one of the mitigating factors that are recommended towards the slowing down of this environmental threat. It is for this reason that other countries on the continent and elsewhere have set a good example by excelling through their greening and tree planting programs. I mentioned this program, Director, since there are good lessons to be learned from the initiatives, and the African Forum on Urban Forests is a good platform for learning and sharing in this regard. Ladies and gentlemen, the mandate of the Forestry, Fisheries and Environment in South Africa is to provide leadership on sound environmental management, and has over a period of time developed a comprehensive environmental management legislative regulatory framework. One of them is the National Forest Act of 1998, which empowers the department to provide leadership as the sector leader on forestry matters. Tree planting led by the DFFE has been taking place for quite some time now. As we prepare to celebrate the International Day of Forests on the 21st of March 2025, I am pleased to announce that South Africa has designated the 24th of September 2025 as a National Tree Planting Day. On this day, we aim to mobilize all government entities across all three spheres of government, community-based organizations, non-government organizations, the corporate sector, and the citizens to plant 1 million trees in a single day. The ambitious initiative will contribute to creating sustainable settlements and mitigate the impact of climate change. Additionally, under the revamped National Greening Program initiated by His Excellency the President of South Africa, we have set a target to plant 10 million trees over a period of 5 years. The planting of 1 million trees on the 24th of September 2025 was inspired, amongst others, the first African woman to receive the Nobel Peace Prize through her Green Belt movement, which has planted over 51 million trees across Kenya, Ms. Wangari Maathai. The focus was not just about reforestation, but about empowerment, about giving people, especially women, the tools to change their environment and their lives. In this regard, we would like to salute women empowerment and the efforts of women to bring development in rural areas. In addition, work done by our neighbors and other countries on the continent and elsewhere on the globe was also an inspiration to enhance the National Greening Program. For this reason, we support the Second African Forum on Urban Forestry as a platform to engage and discuss on the latest trends in the field and to share lessons learned across the continent in this regard. Program Director, the forum is convened under the theme Resilient Cities, Healthy Cities, and Equitable Cities, and focus on shaping the future resilience of African cities through urban forests. In line with the theme, in the previous financial year, the department, working with other stakeholders, implemented the Cleaning Greening program with municipalities. The aim was to eradicate waste, especially in illegal dumping sites, and replace this with tree planting activity, especially in urban areas. This program has benefited 14 municipalities, which include capital cities of the 9 provinces in the country. Program Director, as I conclude, I would like to point out that forestry is a key economic sector in our country. Forestry produces and contributes at least 4.5% total manufacturing. In less than 10 years, export earnings have almost trebled, with the sector providing a positive trade balance of close to 10 billion. The sector contributes 25% to agricultural gross domestic product. Much of the forestry operations are rural-based, making it a significant contributor to rural economies and social well-being. It is estimated that the sector supports 700,000 livelihoods. The process of land reform and other programs, such as the new afforestation, has the potential to be a game changer and could result in as such as 50% Black and community ownership of land available for plantations. For this reason, the department is leading the process of implementing the Forestry Sector Master Plan. The master plan is essentially the growth, transformation, and investment plan for the sector. It is a social compact between government, labor unions, and industry in the sector. Ladies and gentlemen, the Department of Forestry, Fisheries, and Environment would like to thank its partners and role players who ensured that the event today becomes a success. I wish all participants and delegates fruitful discussions throughout the next 3 days, and I hope the session will lead to resolutions of challenges faced in urban forestry on the continent. You are therefore encouraged to debate and discuss solutions that will take urban forestry forward on the continent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You look pretty.
Thank you.
Doesn't she look pretty? I'm not a singer, otherwise I'd sing for you, dear. Isn't she lovely? So we're going to go into the next session. The next speakers have been allocated 5 minutes each, so you're going to see me coming up and down just to stop them at 5 minutes so that we can keep to time. So these are core organizers' opening address, and they will be setting the scene for the FAO Green Cities Initiative. What we have encapsulated with these speakers is really a regional perspective of urban forestry. We heard a lot from South Africa. Now we're going across Africa in order to bring all our brothers and sisters, and thank you so much for being here in South Africa. But really, this urban forestry is about all of us as a continent because we need to work together. And so to kick off the first 5 minutes, please help me welcome to stage Deputy Director of Forestry Division FAO, none other than Ms. Tina Vahanen.
Thank you, Program Manager. Your Excellency, Deputy Minister, Ms. Bernie Swartz, Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, Republic of South Africa. and Councillor Sello Enoch Dada Moreiro, Executive Mayor, City of Johannesburg, Metropolitan Municipality. First of all, thank you for hosting us and this second forum here in Johannesburg and in South Africa. I echo what the Deputy Minister and Councillor Moreiro already said, acknowledging all the speakers and participants. So with that, all protocol observed. So I'm really thrilled and excited to be here. And it's my pleasure to welcome you all here on behalf of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO. I would also like to thank our fellow co-organizations, of course, already the City of Joburg, UN Habitat, and the Center of African Public Spaces, and I would also recognize the critical role of the Scientific Committee for all the preparatory work to make this event happen. This is a crucial moment, ladies and gentlemen. Africa's cities are among the fastest growing in the world, with urban populations expected to triple by 2050. This rapid urbanization is both a challenge and an opportunity. As more people move to cities, the demand for housing, infrastructure, and services increases, often putting pressure on natural resources and green spaces. However, with thoughtful planning and investment, urban forestry can play a key role in shaping healthier, more resilient, and sustainable cities. We all know the urban forests provide a wide range of benefits, and my previous speakers have already listed those. Air quality, improve air quality, reduce the urban heat island effect, enhance biodiversity, mitigate climate, and support human well-being. And very importantly, they also offer economic opportunities by creating green jobs, supporting local livelihoods, and increasing property values. Ladies and gentlemen, the role of trees and green spaces in cities is in particular relevant for Africa, where many urban areas face high levels of pollution, water scarcity, and socioeconomic inequalities. But well-designed urban forests can help address these challenges by providing shade, cooling urban areas, improving water retention, and creating spaces for recreation and social cohesion. And green spaces also play an essential role in food security, especially in cities where urban and peri-urban agriculture can contribute to nutritious diets of local communities and contribute to local economies. At FAO, we are deeply committed to supporting this agenda. Through our dedicated urban forestry team and the FAO Green Cities Initiative, we work with cities and governments to integrate trees and green spaces into urban planning and development. The FAO's Green City Initiative is a new initiative, and I would like to encourage as many as cities in this continent to join that network. You will hear more on how to do that in our next session from my colleague Simone Borelli. And our goal is to ensure really that urban forests are not just an afterthought, but the fundamental component of urban development and strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, as the change starts from us, from all of us, individually and collectively, I encourage each of you to actively engage in discussions, share your insights, and work together to develop concrete strategies and actions for greener, healthier, and more livable cities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. In the interest of time, I won't keep on coming up and down the stage so we can then go straight into the next speaker. I think what you did was really great. We're all family now, so protocol has been observed already. Otherwise, it takes 2 minutes of that 5 minutes with you re-greeting the people. So we want to really hear the rich content that you have prepared. So just go straight into that. We all know that you love us as speakers and that you acknowledge all of us in the room. So please, can we move right to Mayor City of Banjul, the Gambia. I love the Gambia. Ms. Rohi Malik Low to stage. A round of applause, please, as she comes on.
Okay.
Please put the mic on. That's my first Achilles heel. Please smack me when you go for tea break. I called her in error. I was wondering, why is she going to sit there? I've already moved to after tea break. My apologies. Let me help you down the stairs. Totally my fault. Totally my fault. It humanizes me. I'm human, and it's okay. And thank goodness we are family. We're now moving to Dr. Babangada Amadou, FAO representative in South Africa. That's who we're actually moving to. Apologies, everybody.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I stand by the protocol already established for this occasion. It's a great honor and privilege to welcome you all to the second African Forum on Urban Forest on behalf of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to each of you for joining us in this crucial dialogue on the role of urban forest in shaping sustainable and livable cities across Africa. Your presence here today is a testament to our shared commitment to advancing urban nature for the benefit of our people and the planet. We gathered at a time when cities across Africa, particularly here in South Africa, are facing unprecedented challenges due to rapid urbanization, climate change, and increasing socioeconomic disparities. Our urban environments are under immense pressure, but we also recognize the immense potential of urban forests and green spaces in transforming our cities into healthier, more resilient, and more inclusive places for all. Urban forests play a vital role in enhancing the well-being of our urban communities. The presence of trees and green spaces in the cities improves air quality, mitigates the urban heat island effect, and contributes to mental and physical health. In South Africa, where urban populations are growing, ensuring access to green infrastructure is not just a matter of aesthetics. It is a necessity for sustainable development and social equity. Parks, street trees, and urban woodlands provide a refuge from the stresses of city life, fostering community cohesion and improving quality of life. At FAO, we recognize that achieving food security must go hand in hand with fostering healthy environments. Our mission extends beyond ensuring that no one goes hungry. We also strive to create cities that support biodiversity, combat climate change, and enhance resilience to natural disasters. By working alongside national and local governments, we support initiatives that integrate urban forestry into broader development policies, ensuring that green spaces contribute not only to ecological sustainability, but also to food production through urban agroforestry and community gardens. Climate change and disaster risk reduction are critical issues that cannot be ignored. Urban forests serve as natural buffers, reducing the risk of floods, stabilizing soil, and lowering temperatures. They play a key role in carbon sequestration, helping to mitigate the effects of climate change. As we face increasingly extreme weather events, investing in green infrastructure is no longer an option. It is an imperative for safeguarding our urban communities. However, as we advocate for greener cities, we must also ensure that access to urban forests and other benefits is equitable. Green spaces should not be a privilege for a few, but a right for all. Marginalized communities, including low-income populations, must have the same opportunities to enjoy and benefit from urban nature. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that urban forests contribute to social justice, fostering environments where everyone, regardless of their background, can thrive. This forum serves as an opportunity for us to share knowledge, exchange best practices, and strengthen collaborations. Together, we can champion policies and initiatives that integrate urban forests into our cities, development plans, ensuring a greener, healthier, and a more sustainable future for Africa. I wish you all fruitful discussions and a successful forum. Let us work together to shape cities that are not only resilient, but also abundant in nature, offering well-being and prosperity to all who call them home. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Babagana. I love that, to all who call them home, not just the human. We're now moving to Johannesburg City Parks and Zoo and Center of African Public Spaces. Please help me welcome to stage Mr. Tandukolo Mendru. A round of applause, please.
Program Director, with all protocol having been observed, it is an absolute privilege to join the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg in welcoming all the delegates to the Second African Forum for Urban Forestry that is being held in a city that aspires to be a world-class African city. I stand before you today with great privilege and pride as we embark on a crucial conversations surrounding urban forestry. To us, this forum is more than just an event. It is a culmination of months of extensive lobbying and planning to unite so that we can have a single voice today. It serves as a vital opportunity to unite stakeholders, innovators, academics, leaders from across our beloved continent to shape the future of urban greening across Africa. For Johannesburg, this gathering is about exchanging ideas with our peers outside of our borders to tackle our city's pressing challenges, such as rapid urbanization, climate change, and environmental degradation. All of these demand of us that we rethink our actions and how we interact with nature within our urban spaces. As our cities grow, so too must our tree planting programs, resources, and green infrastructure. Program Director, I want to take this opportunity to highlight what we have in store, a very impressive agenda. Our discussions are going to revolve around 4 thrusts that are integral in achieving our vision of a sustainable urban development. First, looking at urban forests for climate action and how they serve an indispensable role in mitigating climate change. Secondly, we are going to discuss and make an urban case for urban forests. And this session is going to provide a strategic deep dive into the financing challenges and opportunities. Thirdly, we're going to look at urban health and well-being and how urban residents can ultimately be connected to green spaces around them for their health and well-being. Fourth, empowering women to take leadership roles in urban greening, which is vital in building inclusive, diverse, and sustainable cities. Alongside this Strategic Trust Program Director, Johannesburg and JCPZ have organized some exceptional side events to deepen our conversations and to broaden our perspectives. One such event is a special tribute to the former executive mayor of the city of Johannesburg, Honorable Amos Masondo, who was a visionary and whose visionary leadership continues to inspire our efforts in urban greening. And also, of course, to pay tribute to Professor late Wangari Maathai, a Nobel laureate whose groundbreaking work in environmental conservation remains an inspiration to everyone across the continent. And this is a chance, ladies and gentlemen, to reflect on these powerful legacies and to use them as a driving force to foster greening, ownership, and pride. Honored guests, as we embark on this journey together, I urge you to engage actively in the discussions. I urge you to bring forward new ideas and challenge conventional thinking and conventional wisdom. Let us work collaboratively to make this forum not just a space for dialogue, but as a springboard for transformative action that will shape the future of urban greening across Africa. Let us ensure that the ideas and solutions we generate here are practical and can translate into concrete, actionable plans to impact our cities and communities positively. Once again, welcome to Johannesburg. Thank you, and I look forward to an exciting discussions and collaborations ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will now move to UN Habitat Regional Office for Africa representative, Ms. Beryl Nozipho Kanyile. A round of applause for her, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Program Director. Greetings, honorable dignitaries, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to also stand by the protocols that have already been observed. Let me also take this moment and pass a warm greetings from the UN Habitat headquarters, Nairobi, Kenya, our Bariago. The UN Habitat is greatly honored to be gathered with all present this week and to participate in person at the second African Forum for Urban Forest here in Johannesburg. Through this inspiring theme of Green Horizon, shaping the future resilient of African cities through urban forest, and on behalf of the Regional Office for Africa, we really appreciate this opportunity. The second forum provides us with even more of a diverse multi-stakeholder platform, bringing joint solutions from a wider spectrum of actors, promoting knowledge, sharing, as well as evaluating tangible actions and gains made since the inaugural forum that was held virtually. I believe this forum will greatly leverage our role as urban practitioners in its potential to enhance basic health, well-being as a public good. Or as all role players and practitioners in the urban space, landscape and spatial form sectors, our design and planning lenses should be underpinned by the human well-being, to say the least. Understanding this function can be in turn improving urban planning, vegetation management, environmental sustainability related resources allocation, as well as urban quality of life. Ladies and gentlemen, as the United Nations agency focused on sustainable urbanization, we recognize that urban forests are not merely aesthetic addition to the landscape, but critical asset of infrastructure for building climate resilient, improving air circulation, public health, reducing urban heat, island effect, and enhancing quality of life for all urban community. Africa is experiencing rapid urbanization, I think it has been stated, on natural ecosystems with the urban environment, with growing demand of housing and basic services, the youth bulge that we are experiencing as African cities, combined with escalating climate change impact. Significantly, biodiversity is experiencing deforestation, habitat fragmentation, illegal wildlife trade, and the accelerating impact of climate change. These forces have greatly contributed significantly in reducing key ecosystem services. These ecosystem services such as clean water, fertile soil, and pollination, which are critical to well-being of millions of people across the African continent. Distinguished participants, this challenge is facing African cities from rapid urbanization to climate change. Continuous innovation is required through nature-based solutions that can be implemented at scale. I want to take you through what UN Habitat can do. As UN Habitat, through the Regional Office for Africa, we are committed to supporting African cities, developing integrated approaches to urban forests that aligns with the new urban agenda and sustainable development goals. Through technical and normative capabilities, existing programs and initiatives that we aim to strengthen this nexus of nature-based solution-orientated urban planning, with emphasis on urban forest planning, design, capacitation, management, and implementation, while promoting inclusive governance models. We believe that successful urban forestry must be rooted in local context. I think the Honorable Deputy Minister did state that, drawing on indigenous knowledge, hence we have the traditional leaders in the room, while leveraging on technological innovation and global best practices. We position ourselves through our mandate as a catalyst within the urban planning ecosystem, establishing mechanisms that streamline the integration of urban forestry into cities and regional planning. Few examples and initiatives that we've undertaken across the African continent, such as green and public spaces and environmental risk in Bameda in Cameroon, where UN Habitats have collaborated with cities to establish this initiative in responding to some of the sustainability required from an environmental perspective. Riverside rehabilitation in Ras Moka in Addis Ababa, Nairobi River regeneration within the Nairobi County, and as well as bridging a fragmented society through public spaces here in Johannesburg. This initiative in their varying approaches are true indicative that urban spaces are a dynamic ecosystem which requires dynamic responses. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as I close, Madam Program Director, I am sure and agree that urban policies are key to guiding the journey and nature of urban development. I'm sure we all agree in that. In this instant, urban forestry-centric development is crucial. Cities are here to stay, and cities are expanding, and the future of humanity is undoubtedly cities. Judging by the worth of experience at this conference, we are assured of progressive outcome. We wish you rich discussions and knowledge exchange from your engagement at this platform. Those knowledge exchanges to translate into insight, and insight translating into concrete actions, and African solution in green urban financial architecture. Meaningful partnership and all level that can bring capabilities, transforming African urban landscapes for generations to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Just 2 seconds for me. Let me just bring on the next speaker, and then I'll come through to you. Thank you. We're now going to introduce Urban Forestry Officer and Coordinator of the FAO Green Cities Initiative. Please help me welcome to stage Mr. Simon Borelli. A round of applause, please.
Yes, I think I have a presentation. I'm not sure if you have it in the booth. Yes, there we go. So, distinguished delegates, distinguished authorities, I think now all protocols have been observed already, so I think I had 15 minutes on the program. I have 5. Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to be going very fast. Okay, well, I like the power of 3 too, so I think what I'm here for is to listen, learn, and make friends. So I think, I hope we'll all be friends by the end of this. So I have 5 minutes instead of 15, so if I can move forward on this one, somehow. This was what the world looked like 50 years ago. The light blue is rural, and the darker you get, the more cities you get. This is what it looked like in 2018, so you can see there's been a big difference in what the world looks like. In 2030, this will be the picture. So many more people will live in cities, many more people will actually have need for basic services. Some people have mentioned what temperatures will look like. This is what temperatures will look like in the Sahel. By the end of the century, 7 degrees hotter. And population will be triple. So imagine what stress that is going to put on the environment. And once again, there we go. So cities will be denser. Poor people and rich people will live closer together, but with very different level of services. Natural resources look increasingly like this. So really, hell on earth, shall we say. Yes, yes, sorry, thank you. And more people will have, lived through environmental crisis. And I think many people have mentioned this, the rich and poor will have very different access to nature. So, what have we tried to do with the FAO Green Cities Initiative? Really, we're trying to create a vision in which we look at cities as vibrant, inclusive places, where people can actually live productive lives together with biodiversity, together with social cohesion, economic growth, and bridging the gap between city and nature, and between urban and rural areas. Our vision is to reach 1,000 cities. That's what our Director General has tried to push forward. And we're going to try to do that by integrating urban forestry, urban agriculture, and food systems into urban planning. What are the pillars of this, let's say, this initiative? Basically 3 pillars: knowledge management, technical assistance, and awareness raising. So that's why we're here, to raise awareness, but also to tap into your knowledge and also help us build the capacity of people. I won't go into all the details. As I said, I thought I had much longer, but we'll skip to the achievements to date. And essentially, we had pilot projects already in 20 different countries. We've had work with the Global Environmental Facility, the Green Climate Fund, and we now launched a very large project in 5 African countries to develop investment plans for greener cities. We're trying to already reach out through different networks, particularly the Green Cities Initiative Network, but also other networks we have, and I know there's going to be other networks launched during this meeting, so look out for that. And we created a regional program for 30 African cities already. So we are working with Africa quite intensely. What are our, let's say, next steps? It's really about building a community of practice, digital platforms, helping through projects, and raising awareness. And I think this is an indication of how we can get people on the move. I'll skip this. It's more about your project. We can share that later on. Some examples of projects we had already in Ivory Coast, in Namibia, in Tunisia, in Cameroon. So already been quite active in the different areas of greening cities. How do you join this network? And I think that's what Tina mentioned. Now, you can check out our website, but I think the critical point to understand, this is a network for cities. So we really want cities to join. Then within this, we also have some community of practices together with colleagues here in the room. So we really want to make sure we have different levels of collaboration because it's about working together. I'll finish with another power of 3. And I think if I had to change my job title, and I think it's a word that not many people have mentioned today, it's happiness. I would like to be the happiness officer. And so cities should be greener, healthier, and happier. And I think that I'll conclude on that. Thank you, President Manager.
Thank you, happiness officer. And so to round up this segment, please help me welcome to stage University of Namibia, Imperial College of London, Dr. Jessica Thorne.
Sanibonani, Goeiemorgen, Dumela, Habari, Molo, and as you say in South Africa, all protocols observed. As the chair of the Scientific Committee for the African Forum on Urban Forests, I'm really very excited and extend a warm welcome to you all to this important forum. My name is Jessica Thorne. I'm a fellow at the University of Namibia Department of Environmental Sciences and at the Centre for Environmental Policy, Imperial College London. And I'm really excited to share with you today a presentation, a report that we published last year with FAO, with colleagues in this room, Bertrand Nero, Patrick Likongwe from Malawi, Charlie Shackleton from Rhodes University, and Bridget Nyiromanyugutse from the Green Growth Initiative in Rwanda. So this journey for this forum started, I suppose, 4 years ago online, and then 2 years ago with Ayanda and Joy and Simone and Michaela, where we envisioned this forum. So it's so exciting for us all to be together. And I'd really like to appreciate Sibulele, the co-chair, and Giordano and the scientific committee who've really supported their work in this forum. So urban forestry, as we know, is in Southern Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa is alive and well, and it comes in many forms and shapes and a variety of unique characteristics. And various international fora have highlighted that these, and policy initiatives, that it's very important in terms of the UN Decade for Ecosystem Restoration, the Global Land Outlook, the Great Green Wall Initiative across 22 countries, and the African Forest Restoration Landscape Initiative, which is here supporting us today. But despite this intention, we are seeing that there's still a lack of comprehensive assessments to understand the extent and dynamics of urban forestry in our region. And so this report was to provide an overview associated to these trends, to have better understand the ecosystem services that are prominent and distinct across Sub-Saharan Africa, explore innovative strategies, and discuss future opportunities for resourcing. So we've discussed extensively that we have a continent of many countries. We have a population growth that's projected to be 1.6 million by 2050, and we have urban growth rates just in the last 5 years are more double than that of Asia. We're also seeing, if we look at, for instance, Latin America and Caribbean, it's 3 times the growth rates, and we have extensive urban-rural migration, internal population growth, and urban expansion. The GDP per capita is also quite ranging from only 202 US dollars per annum in Burundi to 8,600 in Gabon. And we have regular land occupation and encroachment into these public spaces, leading to a loss of urban canopy and, of course, exacerbating, for example, stormwater runoff with the extension of impervious surfaces. For example, in Sierra Leone, we've seen a 12% loss of urban canopy just between 2011 and 2018. We're also seeing this expansion of informal settlements between 58 to 75% of residential land. And in these places, we see a lack of management services, housing provision, restricted capacities to maintain these areas, and poor prioritization and spatial planning. So many of these green spaces, for example, in Windhoek, my home city, are developed on unmanaged lots, riparian fringes, and road verges. We also have the legacies of colonialism. This is taken in the Aberdeen Creek, where I work in Sierra Leone, and we are seeing many neighborhoods where we have affluence and reasonably large gardens adjacent to very low-income neighborhoods, as shown in Nikongwe's work and in Giobani's work, looking at racial inequality. We're also seeing the continuation of invasive species, and in urban centers, we have more people who are transhumanists moving into cities, causing new challenges for urban planners. And finally, we all depend on, many cities still depend on fuel wood, and we have a lack of grid-connected access to energy. So we've talked a lot about ecosystem services, but one I want to highlight in Africa in particular, for example, in Bulawayo, woody biomass is particularly important. 70% of residents depend on this. In Abidjan, for instance, we have many people gathering fruits from citrus products and mango. And in Lagos, about 61% depend on forage. We also have important needs associated with cultural services, which are particularly important. Like, for example, we have in this picture is look in Rwanda, where we have the coral tree and the strangler fig as spiritual mediators. So, we have some incredible stories that will be told in the next few days around how authorities are starting to become aware of these nature-based solutions as critical infrastructure. For example, the Kampala, Uganda 20-year urban forestry plan, as well as the financing and digital solutions through the Freetown initiative that will be presented shortly. As shown in this picture over here, in terms of just taken a few months ago. We also have some wonderful participatory planning processes. This is again in Kampala through the Natural Asset Mapping Initiative, as well as in Ghana through the Sekondi Takoradi project. Urban agriculture has been discussed. We have a huge range of only 4% in Windhoek, up to 72% in Lambumbashi in DRC, but these are all connected to differences in property rights. We're also seeing some wonderful initiatives associated with agroforestry and municipal budgeting around riparian strips. We're also thinking about more across the continent about site-specific initiatives around how we think about what appropriate species are, how we develop road nurseries, and how we have in situ upgrading, for example, in Gobabas from the Namibian Housing Action Group. So I think moving forward, I had to condense a lot of content in a few minutes. I want you to take 4 take-home messages. The first message is that, of course, we need to focus on reducing inequality in access to services and overcoming issues of environmental justice. Green spaces should not be considered a luxury good for the more affluent, but an opportunity for all. And we have to really focus on land availability and tenure and strengthen issues around environmental justice. We need to think about flexible land, public-private partnerships, as will be discussed on day 4, including cross-subsidization of rates and taxes, thinking about user charges, thinking about multiple dimensions of poverty when we're thinking about livelihoods, and taking example, for example, from the city of Tshwane here, which is funding 3 million trees. And finally, we need to build the knowledge base of sub-Saharan African urban forestry, which I know you're all working very hard to, and that includes building baselines and ensuring that we have appropriate metrics to monitor and map and have open source data platforms that are well communicated. So in the next coming days, we have an amazing program planned. Today, we're focusing on climate-proofing cities with nature-based solutions, looking at carbon sequestration, heat stress, biodiversity inventories, conservation, ecosystem disservices, as well as pests and diseases. Tomorrow delves into equitable access, health and well-being, thinking about food security, environmental justice, public health, traditional and ecological knowledge, youth, education, gender, and informal settlement access. And finally, the last day, we're going to be focusing on making the business case for urban forestry, sustainable finance models, economic development, and inclusive governance, and monitoring strategies. So I encourage you all to please connect with one another. This is an opportunity to build long-term alliances, and we really must step up and be leaders and advocates for inclusive and resilient green cities. So this is your chance to participate in redefining the future of our continent. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you enjoy the conference.
I told you the toughest thing for me is keeping to time, and that's partly why they always have a program director, so we can all get to the respective rooms that we want to get to and stick to our schedules. So we have caught up time. It's 11:25 right now, so if we're going to go quickly on a tea break. Now, the speakers helped us catch up time. It's now up to all of you to also be team players. When we ring the bell for all of us to come back in, can we please come back in as swiftly as possible? Otherwise, we will not be able to have the rich conversations that we want to have. And I think that's what we're here for, and we'll get to network a little bit later. So let's focus on coming back quickly, and we'll get to network later during the dinner and all of that. But we do want your well-being to be looked after. So let's go to a tea break, and let's be back in the room seated by 11:45. 11:45, 11:45. Thank you so much. Enjoy your comfort break and see you soon. so much, everybody. Thank you for adhering to coming back on time. I appreciate all of you. I think I just want to give a grand thank you one more time to all our speakers who had to ramble through everything prior to catch us up. I really appreciate all of you. I think what we are encouraging is all of us to have conversations together during the tea breaks and also during lunchtime. And most importantly, tonight, let's have fun together and see what it is that we can collaborate on as attendees for the future, because it's not just about the conference, it's about longevity and the future. I want to take the time to just acknowledge we do have rapporteurs in the audience that are taking notes. I really, really do want to acknowledge them. We also have translators at the back. I know that we couldn't speak slowly and steadily because we were trying to catch up time, but if I can ask the speakers who are coming now on stage to speak in just a normal pace, you don't have to drag the words, so that those who do not speak English, they can then translate from English to French, and they can also then be engaged in the conversation with us. So we're going to go into our first panel discussion. This is a high-level political dialogue, building resilience through urban forests in African cities. I hope everybody that's joining us online, I don't know if it's good morning, good afternoon, good evening for you. Thank you so much for just honoring us and enabling us to just all get back here. And I hope you also had a great comfort break. So making up this panel we will be having, I'm so glad now I'm going to call you correctly at the right time. We have Mayor City of Banjul, the Gambia. Please help me warmly welcome to stage Ms. Rohi Malik Low. A round of applause, please, for her. We have Mayor of Matola City Council, Mozambique, Mr. Julio Barouk. We have Mayor of Kermassar Nord, Dakar, Senegal, Mr. Adama Sarr. We have Mayor of Chipata, Zambia, Mr. George Mwanza.
Okay. I have to sit here, right?
And making up the final panelist.
So you are on the middle.
Making up the final panelist for this discussion, we have Councillor City of Tshwane, Councillor Dumisani Twala. And this conversation will be moderated by South African Local Government Association. This is, they're fondly known as SALGA to most of us here in South Africa. So if you hear SALGA throughout Africa, that's who we're talking about. We're talking about South African Local Government Association. And we really just want to take a moment to honor how they have journeyed with us. Since the inception of us knowing that we were going to do this event, they've really journeyed with the city and taking the concept into other cities so that Africa is having a conversation in unity. You know, sometimes being together doesn't mean unity, and they've made sure that the concept is sold in that manner to all of us throughout the continent. And so the representative from SALGA that will be moderating this conversation, please help me warmly welcome him to stage, Mr. Mtobedi Kolisa. A round of applause, please, for him. I leave you in the capable hands of Ubuntu Mtobeli. The only time you'll see me is when I give him a 10-minute countdown, what I am known for. Enjoy the conversation, everybody.
Good morning, everyone. Is it morning still? Yes, it is morning, luckily. Good morning. As indicated, my name is Mtobeli Kolisa. I will be moderating this session. We are all in this session standing on the protocols so eloquently stated and observed earlier today by Mayor Morero and all other speakers in the earlier session. So all of us here in this session, we will not start with protocols. They have been covered for us. And welcome and thank you for giving valuable time to be part of this session. We call it a high-level session. because it is a discussion that is led by mayors about building resilience through urban forests in African cities. The context of this session is that the context of this event is that we are facing rapid urbanization that has led to significant environmental challenges, including loss of green spaces, increased pollution, climate change impacts, and urban forests play a critical role in mitigating these, including providing ecological benefits, enhancing biodiversity, improving air quality, offering social and psychological well-being benefits to urban residents. However, the preservation and expansion of urban forests require collective efforts from stakeholders, including government agencies, urban planners, environmental organizations, and our communities. It is for this reason, therefore, that this session seeks to unpack the urban forests and building climate resilience and discuss existing gaps and challenges and opportunities of African cities to scale up urban forests and reforestation. So therefore, in this session, we hope to achieve 3 outcomes. We are hoping to unpack the experiences of African cities in mobilizing support for forestation towards building climate resilience in our communities. That is the one outcome we're hoping to do that. We're also hoping to interrogate the role of cities' political leadership that they can play in mobilizing citywide reforestation in our cities. Thirdly, we are hoping to develop a collective vision of what we can do to promote urban forestation programs in our African cities. As indicated to you, we have the pleasure of 5 panelists that have already been introduced. I'm not going to go back to that introduction. Given the limited time that we have for this session, I'm going to request each of the panelists to start with an opening statement that covers 1, the experiences of that city in mobilizing urban forestry. The second one, as they do that, each one of them just sharing their experiences as a city in mobilizing support for urban forestry initiatives. Secondly, in their opening remarks, given the experiences that they would have been sharing, I would like them to comment on the role of political leaders in that work. What is it that typically we think political leaders should do? Thirdly, I would like each one of them today, building from there, what do we think a vision for collective effort for urban forestation could look like for African cities? So it's your experiences, Mayor. It's what we think political leaders should role that they should play. And if we were to act together, how should that look like? What should we be trying to do? What actions should we take collectively in order to get to that? So I'm not going to waste any more time, and immediately I have my list. It is not according to how they are seated here. So I will follow that list. I will start with the mayor of Chipata City Council in Zambia, Mayor George Mwanza, to take 5 minutes. You are wired, right, Mayor? You can speak from there.
Okay.
Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. Of course, protocols have already been established. My name is George Mwanza. It's important that I mention my name, but also to say that I head a city that is between 500,000 to 1 million people, and elected by the citizens directly through a vote, and therefore becoming the youngest mayor in my country. And my city wishes to resolve 2, 3, 4 problems, and one of it is to ensure that we achieve a green, safe, and brighter city. Why? Because my city is mountainous. It's a city built on the middle of mountains or hills. So over time, for many years, what has been a huge challenge has been whenever it rains, there's a heavy current of water that comes from the hills. It comes down and displaces people, floods the lower side of the city, and also increases the cost of purifying water because most of the debris end up in the only water source. So that has been a huge challenge. It displaces children that go to school and the women. And because of that, it's been one of my big agenda to ensure that we reforestate the hills so that they can come back to their natural green cover, so that we can use natural means to address a natural problem. So that is what we've been doing. So overall, we have a program to plant 500,000 trees, and so far we've been able to plant 15,000 trees in the last 3 months. So that we can resolve this issue, and also we use natural means to actually address natural problems. So we are also aware that in my city, we have a lot of rural-urban migration because in the past 2 years, it's not been raining. There's been no rain. So the people in the rural areas are coming to the city. And this has become a big problem because now we have to look at how best can we take care of these people. They need water. They also need energy for their daily survival. And this has exacerbated the continuous cutting down of trees, any remaining trees on the hills, for them to actually use as cheap fuel. So what we are trying to do now is to give them, assist them some level of solar solutions for them to actually use maybe some solar cooks or something. So we've identified 10,000 households. And we know that if we could assist the women, the youths, the households with 10,000 solar cooking stoves, then we can protect our trees. We can allow them to grow. We've also identified 10 open spaces that we want to ensure that we plant trees and open them as parks for our children. Because we know that our children are the future and they are subjected to extreme heat. They are subjected to flooding. They are subjected to a lot of things. So we were preparing open spaces or play parks for them to have places where they can actually go and play from. So as a mayor, it is very important to me to take a lead because I'm a role model of the city, and I am. That's why I'm here for the second African Forum on Urban Forest, to network with the rest of the people and learn from them, also to bring my experience. For example, we are forming environmental and sustainability school clubs based at the school level so that we can use their grouping to actually take education on the importance of protecting trees and on the importance of ensuring that we have a green city. For, of course, very obvious advantages, improved air quality, oxygen, and for the very future that we want to achieve. So far, I have 105 schools in my city, primary schools only, and another 150 schools, secondary and tertiary. But we have been able to form 50 environmental, school-based environmental groups for children so that we can continue to take and entrench this issue of protecting the environment. I think this would actually be used as something that other cities would actually get to adopt, because when we teach the children on the importance of protecting trees and going green, it is very, very important. But also we are advocating through our universities to entrench the issue of greening the city as part of the course for planners, city planners. Because it is important that they know that it is not just about planning, it is about planning sustainably now. That is what we need to embrace in Africa, because we are deeply hit, remember, with the climate crisis, with environmental degradation, and the effects here are so huge. We don't have the huge industries as it is in Asia, in China, in America, but we are feeling the effects every day. So, for example, in the past 2 years, just when I was elected as mayor, we lost 50 public schools because of the flooding. They were all destroyed. And we have a challenge to rebuild those. So, of course, that is a big issue, and we keep on confronting that. So in terms of what role can we play as city leaders, we must take the lead as city leaders to inspire the children, inspire stakeholders. Because as a mayor, when you bring all stakeholders, the church, if you bring civil society, academia together, like what I do, I have meetings to say this is what we want to do, how are we going to plant 500,000 trees. So far, I have a pledge from some local bank that have pledged 10,000 more trees towards this program, and I think we can mobilize support from stakeholders. We can also probably, as a leader in the city, it is important that you bring all stakeholders together and you show the direction and lead from the front. I think that is what we are also doing. But as a youth who is in leadership, it is important to protect the future. So I take it as a very, very urgent issue, and therefore I'm happy that in the next 4 days I'll also be able to learn from the rest of the leaders here. I thank you for now.
Thank you very much, Mayor Mwanza. I am not going to summarize the inputs. We are going to discuss them. The second one, second speaker, will be Mayor of Banjul in Gambia, Mayor Rohima Malik Noe, who will take the podium and also talk to the three experiences of their own city, the role of political leadership, and a collective view of how can we take the process forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Yes, we are talking about time here, but we are talking about a topic that is very, very close to my heart. As a female mayor running the affairs of the capital city and also the president of the network of the locally elected women, I'm sure you will agree with me that we, as a woman, sitting here for the African woman, we deserve 10 minutes. And thank you. And I also want to thank you for leaving me in the mercy of these gentlemen. I have seen equality here. Oh. Yeah, SDG 5 is playing here. Yeah. Mr. Moderator, thank you so much, and I will also ask my Salga colleague, please keep my time. I don't trust the moderator at all. We will all agree that rapid urbanization and environmental degradation pose significant threats in African cities. And I know this because my city, Banjul, is on the sea level. It's on the sea level, and we suffer a lot when we talk about flooding. And this is why urban forest is so very important in my leadership. Anything that has to do with climate change is really on the top of my agenda. And one thing that makes it more important, because in my city we have a youthful population and also women. And I'm sure we can all agree that when climate issues come, when disasters come, the most people that suffer are women. When there is drought, we suffer. When there is flooding, we suffer. Because we don't go alone. We go carry the children and carry them as well. So really, yeah. Mr. Moderator, climate resilience, urban forest mitigate, urban heat islands, reduce flooding and carbon. I don't want to go back to narrate all this. I was busy yesterday doing this, and it means a lot to me because I cannot sit here talking from my heart and forgetting something, especially when it comes to dealing with climate issues. Salga, my colleague here, will never forgive me on that. Mobilizing support, Mr. Moderator, for urban forestation in Banjul. Here are a few lessons of mobilizing support for urban forestation in Banjul. As mayor of Banjul, mobilizing support for urban forestation require a multifaceted approach. The first is community engagement. Community engagement is always very, very important, especially when it comes to the leadership of mayors. We organize 3 planting campaigns involving schools, youth groups, and women organizations. You can see I'm putting emphasis on women organizations again. I didn't say men organizations because we manage people. This activity brings together communities and it promotes togetherness. So you can see it's not only, you can see how climate change and climate action also bring people together. We also launched the public awareness campaign to educate citizens on the benefits of urban forest. This initiative was welcomed by the residents who are looking forward to such informative session to be organized. Another is partnership development. I am also an ambassador of the SDGs, so whatever I do, even if I am eating, I think about how to localize my rice. So anything to do with the SDGs is so dear to me. So you can see how partnership also play part in this with SDG 17. It's about partnership for the goals. Banjul engaged collaboration with international partners like the city of Austin. When we have money from the European Union, together with Austin City, what we did is we plant about 8,000 trees in the beach to just stop the erosion. As I said, Banjul is on the sea level. And then we planted already over 3,500 trees in the city. So this is already done, and it is done through collaboration. Banjul City is in the process of partnering with local businesses to fund tree planting initiatives, again, as part of their corporate social responsibility. So we also collaborate with banks, with other institutions to make sure that we have more trees in the city. And here I also want to thank the African Development Bank, who are also doing extremely well when it comes to mitigating climate issues in Banjul. Also, we have integrated urban forestation into Banjul City master plan and national development strategies, and the master plan was funded by the African Development Bank. This was captured in our recently developed action-oriented voluntary local review. And here again, thank you so much to UN Habitat. So you can see the power of partnership. The role of political leaders in mobilizing city, my colleague has said it. As a mayor, of course, and a female mayor running the affairs of the capital city, I'm a role model to many people. So even if I go, just like, sometimes I just pretend as if I am planting a tree. So the next day you will see people coming out, planting trees as well. True. So it's not that you have to be there every time. We use our platforms, I use my X, I use my Facebook page to make sure that I do some things that will also inspire the women and the youth to do it. So as I said, the mayor also to enact laws. Policies are always very, very important. And we need to always pretend as we are so friendly to the executive, who are always in competition with us. But believe me or not, they are our partners in this. We need to make sure that we talk with our parliamentarians. We enforce laws. Climate action disasters are no more a joke. As I said, when it hits, we as women feels it the most. So laws are really, really very important. And again, as I said, the advocacy for the protection of the forest. For example, anyone caught destroying the forest will be punished, and this is by law. The mayor needs to leverage funds for the creation. This is where the problem is when we talk about money. This is also another problem. So, and again, I want to say this, and I've been saying this just about a week ago. I stood on a platform at the United Nations and said it, that the those that have the money are not coming to the local government. They are going up. They are going up. And this is no disrespect to them. To be quite honest, local government is crying. And this is where the impact is. The impact is down. So now it is important for us to start thinking and giving priority to local government and stop these photo ops of going up just to have a photo, put it in the tweet that I was with the president of Banjul and of Gambia. And at the end of the day, the mayor doesn't see you. It doesn't bring any impact to the community. And the president is part of the community as well. So the importance of mayors, local governments, should be put as a priority. And each and every one of us should be emphasizing this in every platform.
Thank you, Mayor.
A collective framework for promoting urban frustration in African cities. Let me just add one here, and then there will be a need for capacity building. Capacity building is very, very important. You will talk to some people, they don't even understand what localizing the SDGs mean. They don't even understand what are the issues of climate change. How can climate change affect our future, affects our children? They don't know. So capacity building is indeed very, very important. On that note, Mr. Moderator, I thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Lowe. I had to give you 1 or 2 more minutes to balance the equation here. There's so many testosterone voices here against you.
I didn't have any signal from Salga.
Thank you.
That was keeping my time.
Thank you. Can I now invite the mayor of Dakar in Senegal, Mayor Adamassa, to make comments?
Thank you, moderator. I'm more comfortable in French, but I will try to make it in English.
It's okay.
It's okay, I think. Okay, thank you. I'm Adam Assar. I'm the mayor of Keur Massar Nord, a city with 300,000 people in Dakar, the capital of Senegal. I was elected in 2022 as a mayor. And as we know, Keur Massar Nord is one of the most rapid urbanization cities in Senegal. And when I was elected as a mayor, the first thing I say is that I have to make green my city, Keur Massar Nord. To make green my city, because what I was seeing was just building. We have a lot of building, a lot of people live in my city. And what I say is that I have to make my city, Keur Massar Nord, very green, like the greenest city in Senegal, even in West Africa. So I started in 2023 a little pilot phases to plant 700 trees. It was just an example. It was a pilot phases. I planted 700 trees. And after 1 year, we have 94% successful of results of the 700 trees we planted. So, by the way, I would like to thank Amalie because I transformed this project to a legacy goal. Now, the legacy I would like to leave to my city, to the citizen of Keur Massar after my mandate, is to plant 15,000 trees before 2070. The first result in the pilot phase was just 700. And I would like also, by the way, to thank the team leader who is here, who was leading this project, Aline Badara Gueye, who is here in the room. He did a great job because each tree was georeferencing. And its trees also worth sponsoring to one people in the city. Like it was a voluntary work. People sponsor all trees we plant. And we build also a geographic information system for each trees, like the species, the sponsor, the people who are taking care of the trees. And I think this is one of the main keys who give us the excellent result we have, which is 94% of successful trees after 1 year. So I transformed this project as a legacy, because before the end of my mandate, I was elected for 5 years. Before the end of my mandate, I would like to plant 15,000 trees in my city. And what is important, or most important in this project, is that we are going to train 500 young people in eco-agriculture and also women's groups. Now, I'm building a team who are going to manage this legacy goal for my city, Kermassar North. And the team leaders, Aline Badarage is here, and we are about also to integrate this project, I mean my legacy goal, to a biggest one project, call it Dakar Green Belt, and we are looking how we're going to integrate or to interact these two projects together. This is what I would like to say with you here. As a mayor, I had the vision to make my city green. But as a mayor, we don't just need to have the vision, but we need to be an example for the citizen. That is why I convince people to sponsor all trees we already plant in the city. Each tree has a name, has its own sponsor who take care of the trees, and also me as a mayor, I also my own trees. And I give example to the other citizens of the cities to take care of these trees. About the collective issues, I think this kind of forum is good because it allows us to share our experience about what we are doing in our specific cities. And also, I think it is also good to build a framework across African cities to look how we are going to make greens all our cities in Africa. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor Sir. I am now going to invite Mayor Julio Paruk, the mayor of Matola in Mozambique, to make an intervention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My name is Julio Paruk. I'm the mayor of Matola seat in Mozambique. In Mozambique, our language is Portuguese. So that's why pay attention, because my English is very dangerous.
Like me.
But,
like me.
But my brother, Honorable Mayor Morero, understands some Portuguese. If any problem, he will help me. In my point of view, because of African cities or African countries, our main brain as African countries are trees and forests. Was not supposed to talk about this issue in this nation, but it's time to look ahead
and act. Because we're not supposed to talk about forests and trees in Africa, but our brands are forests and trees. But now it's time to look ahead. My mandate stated last year, 2024, Matola is the most industrialized city in Mozambique, but is also the most populous city now in Mozambique, with more than 1.5 million people. We receive every day people from all the country, and we have no borders for someone to come into Matola city. And it's a human right to have a place in the city. But we are facing many, many challenges, environmental challenges. The main one is floods. Every year, every rain season, no way we have floods. That affects more than 70% of the people. More than 1 million people, when it's raining, they don't sleep. We don't sleep because we have no infrastructures to deal with the urban floods. So now we are doing our best to contribute to solve this big issue. How? Constructing highways for the water. Because the people, last 10 years, grows up more than 60%. Which kind of growing is this one? It's too much. And we are taking all the land for houses, industries, and we don't leave land for the water, for the trees. So the trees cannot grow in the stone. It's impossible. And our constructions are flat, horizontal. So that's why I came here with my director of planning and projects, because we have to deal on the best way with this challenge. We have to live and share the land with the water and green areas. He's an architect to help us to drawing the best urban plan to include green areas, to include the way, the land, the space for the water, because it's impossible. When we started this mandate last year, we had the goal to plant about 5,000 trees per year. And I saw that it's possible to do more because we have a local initiative that's one child, one tree, for example. And I think even as a mayor, I will be more different after this forum. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor. May I now lastly invite Councillor Dumisani Twala from City of Tshwane to make an intervention.
Thank you, Facilitator. The City of Tshwane faces unique problems. I mean, if you look at the current rainfall patterns in the last 4 years, where we've had steady rains before and predictable weather, in the last 4 years, the rainfall patterns have become totally unpredictable, and part of that has not only been from deforestation, but also building up of high density. So part of the mitigation plans that we have come up with as a city has been, for every new development, we advocate for green spaces, and your plans do not get approved if you do not facilitate green spaces within your high density developments, which not only provide for carbon sequestration, but also help with cooling off the environment and also reducing topsoil erosion, which is becoming a very big issue, especially if you look at some of our regions which are very dolomite heavy. And during this rainfall season, it's potholes and sinkholes developing on a weekly basis. We currently have programs such as the Pretoria East Biosphere, where we're blending the uniqueness of urban development and urban forestry, where 2,261 hectares of land is being made available to actually revive the natural biodiversity in the area. But not only that, promoting greener buildings in the area as well. And along our mobility routes and auxiliary routes, we are planting more trees. We've been able to, over the past couple of years, give out almost about 10,000 fruit trees. And that is just the beginning of it, you know. It hasn't been an easy progress. There is developmental and slow pace to it, but it also hasn't been just a high-level thing where it's led from the city and the executive, but it's also gone down to ground level, where it involves socio-economic groups from different backgrounds, different community organizations, and other spheres of government, where in collaboration we believe that we could actually develop better cities for tomorrow. Because you look at how cities are developing and the urban migration that's currently taking place. I mean, City of Tshwane is the third largest metropolitan city in the world, but not by population, by geographical space. So it ranges from agricultural and rural all the way to high density inner city. And part of the challenges has been even people moving from the outskirts to the inner parts of the city, where rural land, which was once fruitful and useful, has been left to decay from people moving in. And because of the challenges that are associated with the economics of the country and the economics of people wanting a better life, they've moved from the outskirts of the city to the inner parts of the city. And along the way, they have been cutting down trees to make space for new developments. So we are trying to revamp and replant trees where we've seen the decay happening, and also through efforts such as collaborations with different cities around the globe, finding twin cities that have actually experienced and been able to combat such issues, and being able to develop a new strategy moving forward. Our goal for 2050 is to be net zero by 2050. But to get there, actions had to start a lot earlier. I mean, the plan has been moving and evolving over the last decade. However, it starts to be ramped up more recently. I think in the last 3 years, we've started ramping up on that to be able to actually realize the visions. Because part of the problems we've experienced as governments is we put plans into place, but implementation of it has been the one that's actually been lacking behind, either between having to find a balance for new budgeted items, old infrastructure that needs to be upgraded, and also urban migration. So it's been an ongoing process of trying to find the funds and intentionally budgeting for greener spaces and urban forestry. And along that, it has brought its own set of unique challenges, where part of your electrical infrastructure, part of your roads do get damaged along the way. From the big trees, I mean, we've had jacarandas in the city for the longest time, I think since I was born. And part of the problems we have experienced from that is they started actually creeping under the road surfaces, destroying some of the water pipelines, and also leading to a lot more of the sinkholes forming in some of the areas. So it's been an intentional program to say, okay, if we're looking after the infrastructure, how do we then also green up the existing environment? So if it's not planting trees, it's planting what we would refer to as spekboom in South Africa or elephant bush on the African continent, and using landscaping as part of that. So not only beautifying areas, but also having a functional target towards how we're beautifying the areas and replacing what we've been taking out to protect infrastructure, by also being able to maintain a green climate and a neutral climate in our city. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Twala. I'm going to invite the mayor of the city of Joburg before he steps out to attend to an urgent call. Having heard what your guests in the city have been sharing, Mayor Morero, about forestation in the cities, would you like maybe to make a comment about what the city of Joburg, what has been the city of Joburg's experience in ensuring reforestation and forestation of the city? Most of what we've heard has been from cities that are largely, in the main cities that have been saying, we are also on the coastal, we are facing floods and so on, and we see trees as beneficial inside the cities. Can you make an intervention, and also what you think should be the role of political leadership we can come, we can sit here.
You have to see.
Yeah, I think so. Now, perhaps let me appreciate the inputs made by the mayors and Councillor Letswalo. Is it Letswalo?
Twala.
Yeah?
Twala.
Twala, from the city of Tshwane. And these mayors were part of what we call the Amali Mayoral, African Mayoral Leadership Initiative. I think there are participants there. And part of what they have been trained to do is to develop legacy projects. And most of them have also selected greening as their legacy project. Now, part of what we think is the role of political leadership, one is to engage communities and educate them around the planting of trees. In Johannesburg, for example, we have planted quite a lot of trees just around the period 1996 to 2000. And we then witnessed communities not really participating, one in taking care of the trees, and eventually them started cutting the trees down, which exposed limitations on our public mobilization and social mobilization. So this time around, we're focusing on social mobilization. We already have about 30 young people that we are deploying in wards. There's an intention to increase the number so that there's proper education, especially in our African townships. You know, in Africa, in our setup, there are issues that we have to deal with. So we're doing that part. And political leadership is also helping us to address that part. The intention really is to launch 200,000 trees now at the end of this conference, 200,000 that we want to start planting. But it also includes fruit trees, which we think will also be addressing issues of hunger to a certain extent by planting fruit trees. So that's the interventions we are doing. It will go a long way. You'd know that Johannesburg have in the past received some awards around it being an urban forest champion. I think we have more than about 10 million trees that were planted in Johannesburg. But we are also addressing the legacies of spatial planning which were created by the apartheid state, which to a large extent it neglected townships. And that is why we are focusing on this program. We think if we can do better in the townships, it means we are achieving something, because our suburban areas reflect a very good urban forest. So that's what we are focusing on. And over and above politicians, we want to bring business partners, business sector and the private sector to also contribute towards education, training, and all sorts of issues that will lead us in achieving our strategic objectives. And the last part of it is in relation to water supply. And you know that the water consumption in Johannesburg has been way outside of our apportionment by rainwater. So we are looking at options in terms of ensuring that taking care of trees does not affect our water supply. So we are looking at options as the city, but we are taking this matter quite seriously, and hence we are hosting this conference and this engagement. I don't want to enter into other debates on it, but we are committed, of course, in line with the Paris Agreement, in line with all international commitments that have been made, and Johannesburg is part of it. We have serious participants in C40, so we are serious participants in almost all climate change related and greening institutions globally, that we take these matters quite seriously. We are well placed in Gauteng, as the Mayor in Tshwane said. We are Gauteng, and the MEC was there. There are programs that we are also doing from a provincial point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Mrero. Thank you to our panel. We have limited time that we would like to use to engage with the participants in this conference. You may sit, Mayor Mrero, unless we have to quickly go and take the commitment that we have. We will open now for questions and comments that you might have as you have listened to the experiences of the cities and the mayors and how they are proposing that we should be tackling the issue of reforestation and forestation in our urban spaces. Are there any, can I get an indication of hands of people who would like to make interventions? I say 1, 2, 3. I might stop at 5. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in that order. 1. Please introduce yourself, and if you are directing a question to one of the mayors, indicate which one.
Actually, I want to commend the efforts in respect of the activities and the case studies that brought on to us, to these people. And I also want to commend the organizer of the events. So my question goes all to them. And Michael, I also okay from Nigeria. How I'm worried of the budgeting. Do you have any special allocation, like you earmark for the activities? How do you do that? How do you carry? Do you have a specific budget for forest activities? I want to find out. Thank you very much. I can still do more.
Thank you. I had 2 here. 2 here.
Thank you very much. I've got a question, maybe a couple of them, and it's probably general to all of you as mayors. There was about 200,000 trees that were planted in the city of Johannesburg during the World Cup in 2010, and we just gathered that only about 43% of them survive. So it's not only about planting, but how do you follow up to make sure that they survive? That's 1. 2, the executive mayor of the city of Johannesburg just mentioned it's not only about planting, but it's also about watering and taking care of them. And we see people coming from Dakar. Water issue is a huge problem in Africa as a continent. So how do you cater for that as well? That's also another issue to raise. And the third and the final one, you were speaking about a role model as mayors, and that's what's required. How do you harness the passion and the inspiration of particularly the civic society to get involved, stakeholders, Because budget constraint can be resolved if you instill those passions and inspirations in the public to participate and regard this as part and parcel of their life, the importance and so on and so forth. So what do you do to do this? Have you done anything? For instance, Dakar, you said you are a mayor from 2022. Is there any session that you've undertaken to make sure that people care and cater for these trees? Thank you.
Thank you. It's just 5. We'll stop there. There was, yes.
Thank you so much. I commend what you've done so far as mayors. I propose that instead of just worrying maybe about people cutting down trees because they want to have a better life, maybe we should provide a way to preserve the environment and make money from it. For example, building butterfly sanctuaries in the forest. People can make money at the same time. You preserve the environment through that. So, and then someone talked about the issue of water. In Zimbabwe, there are people in Koazana where they just plant trees during the rainy season. And then we won't need to worry about water during that time. My name is Nataini Machina from Zimbabwe.
That was number 3. Number 4. Okay. May I also request that when you make an intervention, please stand up because it might be difficult to capture your input on the camera when you are seated.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Muyiwa from Federal University of Technology, Akure in Nigeria. I'm an academic and we often pitch the ideas of greening cities to our politicians. It's good to have the politicians seated and speaking to us, but I think generally in Africa, our politicians like to pour concrete than plant trees. I think that's a lot easier. Maybe we need more infrastructure as well. But my question is to ask our mayors seated, what advice can you give to those of us who are not politicians or who work with politicians, who are more interested in pouring concrete than planting trees? How can we convince them? Your passion is good, and I think it's infectious, but I think we need a lot more mayors to think like you are.
Last question.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. You're speaking to Gokonam Saswego from Nature Speaks and Responds.
Governor, may you please stand so that we can capture you?
Togozan, you're speaking to Gokonam Saswego from Nature Speaks and Responds, a traditional healer in South Africa. I'm very impressed with everything that the mayors have done in their countries, but the question that I have is, do you make sure that the trees that you plant in your countries are indigenous trees? Do you make sure that everything that you put in there are trees that are supposed to be found in the space that they're supposed to be found in? Because we are sitting right now in South Africa with a problem of trees that do not belong in this country, and they're everywhere. I'm speaking Tshwane, I'm speaking Johannesburg, I'm speaking everywhere. So I'm asking humbly, do you make sure that it's indigenous trees that are planted in the areas that you plant? Thokozani Siyabo.
Thank you very much. Just to confirm, is there anyone who is looking at online and online comments and questions?
You would ask. Yeah, most of the questions.
May we, if we have failed to do that in this session, may you arrange for the next sessions that we don't miss the participants online. We have had 3 questions that were not specific to a particular person. So I am, given the time we have, going to allow each of the speakers just make a final intervention that responds to the questions that might be relevant to what, when you listen to them, you thought they are talking to the issues you wanted to share, instead of answering a specific question, and also take it as your last final input, because we might run out of time before we get back to you again. We'll start with you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. I will just be very quick. The gentleman here talked about budget. And yes, indeed, I said, and I think my colleagues said it here, that in my city, for example, Banjul, whatever we are doing, our budget is in line with the SDGs. And you have seen how the SDGs prioritize climate change. So indeed, climate action, climate change is very, very important for my city, and it is always on top of our agenda, meaning it is also in our budget. So somebody talk about the Johannesburg having 40% of what they planted being survived. So this is a collective responsibility, my dear brother. It's not the responsibility of the mayor. This is the responsibility of the community. And this is why in my deliberation, I talk about policies and strict laws. We need to have policies and strict laws. The mayor can only be at the forefront, advocating, being a role model, talking to his people, convincing them. As somebody was asking, how can the mayor convince? Mayors are known to be community leaders. Mayors should be very close to their people. Mayors should be calling town halls. We should communicate with our social media platforms. This is why we are called mayors. So again, Johannesburg did what they are supposed to do, is to plan to be at the forefront, lobby for the trees, do whatever they're supposed to do. But again, some of them, we lose them by nature, that is true. But the others are also the responsibility of the communities. So the civil society, which is very close to my heart, I can tell you, mayors, our best partners are civil societies. In my city, all the greening that I've planted in the city was done by civil society organizations. They are our best partners. We are not afraid of them. They are our partners. We know that they are there for us. So be rest assured that civil society organizations are very, very important to each and every mayor. Mr. Moderator, I want to say something here also, that is important to establish an African urban forest network, and I call it AUFN, African Urban Forest Network, AUFN, and I want Johannesburg to take the lead on this. If we can have the World Bank, the African Development Bank, we have the UN Habitat, etc., and etc., why can't we have AUFN? And to be quite honest, I am so impressed with the city of Johannesburg. They did extremely well when it comes to urban forest. So those living here might not appreciate it that much, but us that are very far away from what they have done, we can say they did extremely, extremely well. So congratulations to the city. And congratulations also, since you said this is the last word, to the organizers, to Aya, thank you for taking the burden. You know, when you deal with mayors, you have to get patience. We are, yes, because we carry a lot, believe me.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. As we know, as a mayor, for your questions, as a mayor, I prefer to be a leader, not an authority. Even if I'm an authority, but I prefer to be a leader. A leader is the one who convinces people to be with you in all your visions. In all your visions. When I was elected in 2022, I have the vision to make my city green. But I didn't have the global budget to realize my project. And what I say to my team is that we are going to give this project to the citizens. We will give the project to the citizens. And we are going to plant 700 trees for the pilot project, for the pilot phases. And as I say, each tree was sponsored. For example, if I come to your home, I plant a tree in front of your home. I name the trees to one of your child or your wife or one of your relatives. The tree's name is one of your relative. Yeah. And we print also 700 badges with the name of the trees, with the name of the sponsor, the tree's space, and the code of the sponsor. So we, as a technical support at the city, we were just doing the control of the trees we implant. But it was the citizen who was taking care directly of the trees. It was not the municipality teams or the technical support from the municipality. It was the citizen of Kermasano who are taking care of the trees for their surviving. And for that, before we start the project, we call the civil society, we call traditional leaders, we call religion leaders, we call youth association and women association. We share with them the project. And as a mayor, I tell them, this is your project. My vision is to make Kermasar green. My vision is to make the public space very beautiful, to modernize the public space. But to achieve this goal, I'm not doing to realize it as a mayor, but we, as all citizens of Kermasano, we are going to do that together. And that is why in 2024, after 1 year, we have 19% of successful results of the trees.
Thank you very much.
You're going to go? Yes. Okay, thank you very much. I'm interested in the question that came from Nigeria, that we, the politicians, are speaking good English here, and how can everyone participate? So there's room for everyone to participate. So I'm looking at this forum from two fronts. One, from the political leadership. It's very important to have political leadership for things to move. But at the same time, also, we have the researchers here. That's why we have the University of Namibia and many other technical officers. The director of the zoo and parks here and many others. So probably, why don't we look at it from what is the way forward on the African Forum on Urban Forest? We need the political voices. It is important. We also need the technical people to do research and offer technical support, because for any policy to operate very well in a city, we need data, you know, if it means how many open spaces do we need to revamp, this and that, and so on, and the type of trees that we do plant. Like, for example, in our city, we got forest officers to do a survey on the quality of soil and what type of trees can we plant at this particular area and this area. So there's room for everyone, but also for the donors, UN Habitat, World Food Program, as well as many other donors, probably also in one space to support what the researchers will have advised the politicians, and the politicians also engaging the community and bridging the gap. I think there's room for everyone to participate, sir, but also at the same recommendation to also look at what is the way forward after this forum. Do we now hold it every 3 years, maybe together with the African Union, or probably, so the organizers are already there. We want you to continue moving the ship. You have made us happy, but now maybe structuring it in 3 folds. Maybe the political team also made up of mayors, and also the technical team and the potential donors or partners, so that we can now probably say, do something progressive in my city, for example, something we can show as an example. Okay, and then in the next city, and just like that. But I think that our cities require a lot of technical support. We need to also get to offer a lot of technical support in the cities so that we can probably make sure that the greening efforts are actually actualized. On the other issue, for example, I will tell you that in my city, I have banks that finance mortgage. Now, mortgages requires a massive construction, which is destruction of trees to the environment. And I told them that you have to pay back to the community by donating trees so that we can replace the trees that the clients, your customers have been cutting down. So they have supported 10,000 trees, for example. So maybe such type of initiatives are okay. Also, how do we ensure that we don't lose 40% of the trees that are planted? Maybe we look at why not plant during rain season, for example. By the time the rain cycle is ending, you will have, the trees will have become strong, and now they can survive the next 3 months of heat time, maybe something like that. But we are also putting up commercial solar-powered boreholes to try and water the trees that we plant. Maybe this is something that we can consider. So I thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thanks for that. I'm going to try to be as short as possible. The question on budgeting for forestry. City of Tshwane were intentional about it. However, as you know, when you're battling a challenge and trying to find a balance between economic growth, finding living spaces for people, and as well as keeping the climate green and planting more trees, there is a unique balance in there, and currently we don't have enough money as we'd like to have to put towards that, but it is an intentional budget that we put towards it. So whether it's through our parks, whether it's through our policies that we put in for spatial planning, we are intentional in all the steps that we actually are able to find a balance and then actually able to make an impact, because what we're witnessing now is not something that was created 2 or 3 years ago. It's been years of accumulation. And to undo what we're currently experiencing is going to take another couple of years. So it actually starts now and moving forward in intentionally building those steps and actually making sure that we can get to where we need to be. In terms of trees and survival, and also to also cover the question about alien species and indigenous trees. I think Africa is actually quite blessed that we actually have quite a number of indigenous trees that are actually drought resistant. They might not be the most beautiful plants out there, especially our thorn bushes and part of the savanna trees, but we do have a lot of indigenous trees that we can plant. And not all of them require deep roots or advantageous roots. As I was saying, that's why we've got things like the spekboom and elephant bush, which can actually spread and have actually been proven to actually absorb a lot more carbon per kilogram compared to any other species of tree. So it's indigenous to Africa. It doesn't require as much water, living in a water-scarce country where we do experience droughts, and when it does rain, it rains continuously and it does upset the nature of the balance. But that's why we should actually looking at the balance to say, how best can we partner with not only civil society, but also our technology and our universities to find those spaces. We've got a number of parks that we're looking after and developing in the city of Tshwane to make sure that we continue the green spaces. So it's not only about just rapid urbanization, but it's also about urbanization with a balance of nature. The advice to non-politicians, to actually give advice to politicians is, I think now is actually the best time. A lot of people who have been oblivious to climate change and deforestation are actually starting to feel the effects, whether it's poorer air quality, whether it's a slight increase in temperature, whether it's been droughts that have never been there before, even floods, where the 100-year floodplains have now actually been crossed, and some of them are actually expanding. Now that the effects are actually being felt, it's a lot easier to actually tap into that conscious, because previously it was always an effect of, it's a first world issue. It will never affect us as Africans. It will never affect us as South Africans. But now, because we are feeling the effects, we're able to then breach and actually widen the circle and bring people in and listen to the concerns. Because it's one thing to just have a plan on paper. It's another thing to actually do proper consultation and actually listen to what the people are saying, because every politician Every person has got their own idea of how best to do something, but it's only through collaboration that we can actually find a way to actually find feasible methods to actually move forward. We shouldn't look at green spaces just as green patches. We should look at them as living organisms. We can look at how it affects our countries. We can look at how it affects our cities. You can see the differences along the roads. I mean, you just travel into the city via the highway and take one of the inner routes within the Joburg CBD or within the Pretoria CBD. You actually feel the difference regardless of the amount of traffic there. But the highway will be a lot hotter and a lot more polluted. But the same inner city can have the same amount of traffic, but because it's a lot greener, you don't actually feel that as much as you would. And that's how we should be intentional in moving forward and actually creating our urban forests, that we not only look at just public parks and nature parks and building these sanctuaries within the cities, but actually make it part of the commute. So along your route to work, we've got carbon emissions from vehicles, we've got from buses, from mobility spines. But when you green those areas around that, you're actually able to reduce the effects that you're actually feeling and stick within the goal, and even reduce that goal that it says we need to keep the increase in climate temperature by 1.5. You can actually do a lot more in reducing that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor Farooq, do you want to make any last final word before?
Okay, thanks a lot. I think that when we talk about planting trees, we must be very, very honest. Planting trees is not just numbers, what we plant each year, but we must see, in fact. So it's most important when we're going to plant trees to get the right plant, that tree for that place, that land. Now it's possible to get trees with the right height that can resist, and we can get results, in fact. And ONGs, private companies, civil society are more able to finance those activities. So we must go fast and get this support for this very legacy. Second, we have to develop our cities. We have to construct. But cities are cities. We must be serious. City is not a rural area that the land is very, very enough. City is a city. Even when it's African, city must be a city. So we must have strong plans to run this city. Okay. And you can approve, or we must approve at local level the plans so the people knows. Then the people will defend that this place is for schools, industry, green areas, etc. So the mayor have the people with him, okay, to deal with this. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Mayor. I think what we have done with this session, at least from my perspective, is to confirm one thing, which is why I think this session had to happen right at the beginning of this urban forum. That forestation and reforestation is a legitimate agenda in our cities. If you listen to all of the mayors, their interventions were saying to us, there is a need for this. It's not a nice to do, it's part of the city's need for survival. I don't know if you get the same that I got. So as we discuss in the coming 2-3 days, we must keep this in mind. This is a legitimate agenda of cities, 1. 2, as I was listening to the discussion, a question was playing in my head it was a question that we were discussing elsewhere in one of the engagements about urban forestry. Because one was asking, should urban forestry predominantly focus on developing forests in the outskirts of the cities? Or should it be about integrating trees within city development? Others were arguing very, very strongly that given the value of urban land, you may not be able to have enough, they said, in order to accommodate trees in the vicinity or within the developed areas, and therefore compensate by identifying spaces in the outskirts. But what I heard here from the mayors was that in fact we need trees in where we have development. They talked about floods and all other benefits that we get. So as we think about this going forward, we should not be thinking about we need forests nearby. We need trees inside. That's what I was hearing from the mayors. Thirdly, what I was hearing from the mayors is that as we think about this, there are related pressures that we need to attend to. They mentioned the need for energy, that if you don't address energy needs, you will still have people cutting trees in order to cook. So you must, side by side, in order to protect your urban forests, address energy needs. We had Mayor Mrero saying, as we do that, when we recognize that we are water scarce cities, and predominantly the design of African cities is that the water that is available to us tends to be water that has first been purified and distributed to us for water services consumption. When we think about forestry, we must think about how do we access water that is not necessarily chlorinated water that we need for other things. So we must have solutions that are about harvesting and having water available for those trees to survive without competing with water for cooking and drinking and bathing that people need. So how do we implement these programs in such a way that we address that, the competing needs? We also heard that the role of political leaders is to inspire and lead by example, mobilize communities, mobilize civil society, and mobilize private sector. That is when we think about a collective vision of what we need to do as cities in Africa. These elements must be a component of that. We also had that policies, enabling policies and laws will be a responsibility of political leadership. We must make sure that our cities do have those. And lastly, it was a proposal was made of establishing a network that will follow through that we have been discussing. All of these things that I'm talking about be actioned through a network in between us meeting in conferences such as this one, where we share experiences as we implement urban forestation. And such must carry both political leadership and technical leadership in order for it to address the various ways in which we can deal with cities. Can we therefore thank the mayors for their interventions and setting the scene for this particular forum. Thank you very much, mayors.
Thank you. Another round of applause as they make their way off stage, please. So we're going to go into lunch, but before we go into lunch, I just want to give you a quick rundown of how the rest of the day is going to work. So if you have a notepad and pen, it's the best time to take it out because you won't know where to go, and a lot of the team members won't be there to answer for you. So I find a lot of times before lunch, we say these things and then people are not sure which room to go to after lunch. So please, this is an appropriate time to take out your notepad and pen because it is quite a lot of information so that you can hear where you want to go because we may not be there and accessible for you during lunch. So we'll go into a lunch break, which is going to start shortly as soon as I'm done. It will run until 2 o'clock. Straight after that, you go into parallel sessions. Those parallel sessions, the first set is from 2 o'clock until 3:30. You have the option to either pick Fighting Floods with Nature, which is in ebony, the Carbon Sequestration Quest, which is in indigo, or Urban Forests to Mitigate Heat Stress, which is in ultramarine. So those are the three that you can pick from 2 until 3:30. So Fighting Floods with Nature in ebony, the Carbon Sequestration Quest in indigo, or Urban Forest to Mitigate Heat Stress in ultramarine. Once we're done that, we then go into a tea break for 30 minutes. Then there's a next round of parallel sessions from 4 until 5:30. You have an option between indigenous restoration for adaptation in ebony, that's first option. Second option is experimenting with alternative urban futures, that's in indigo. Third option is biodiversity inventories of urban greening, that's in ultramarine. Or the good, the bad, and the bugly, ecosystem disservices, pests and diseases, that's in aquamarine. So if you heard the first time parallel was only 3 options, this time there's 4 options that you can pick from. Then from 5:30 until 7, there are side events that are taking place. So the first one in indigo is COJ Spatial Development Framework 2040-2024 on urban resilience. The second one in ebony is engaging and empowering communities through tree planting, education and awareness to ensure sustainable green canopy in the city of Johannesburg as part of the 10 million tree planting project, South Africa. Third option is in ivory. Ivory is where we are now. That's building resilient urban futures, implementing NBS at multiple scales. Fourth option is ultramarine, amidst collective ecologies of dreams, rivers, snakes, people, building skate culture towards skate park Kliptown, Soweto, with sovereignty, messiness, and love. Oh, I love that. And then the fifth option is in aquamarine. So that's cities adapt, strengthening climate resilience in cities. So, first round, 3 options. Second round, 4 options. Fifth round, 5 options. If you pick to go to one room on the first option, it doesn't mean you need to be stuck in that room. You can move around rooms. However, because we want to accommodate everybody, if a room is full, we'll have to then send you to other options. So we're going to work on first come, first serve basis. So please make sure that you're going to the rooms that you want on first come, first serve basis. I wish you an absolutely beautiful afternoon. I'm going to sign out from the plenary stage for the day. I will see you at the gala dinner a little bit later. Don't worry, I'm not saying goodbye yet. I'll see you a little bit later. I just am proud of this group because I always think that humanity can't advance if we use big jargoned words. And I've just been listening in on the conversations and how we're really making sure that we're using English that's understandable, because education is not just in the classroom, it's also in rooms like this. And we'll be able to advance humanity and society if we all understand what we're actually fighting for as a community. Enjoy lunch. See you later, everybody.